Well, hello, and welcome to the stew episode because I'm making chili over here. Oh no, that's hot, right? Oh, you can't see it. The old chili! And it's the stew episode because I thought I would tell you a little story about stew. So, I don't know if I grew up eating stew. We ate curries and stroganoffs and that. But when I moved out to my first house, there was a guy called Henry that lived with us. And his whole idea of making stew was getting super cheap meat and just shallow frying it for a while with heaps of pepper and other spices until it got a little brown on the bottom. And then you just put heaps and heaps of vegetables, heaps and heaps of stuff. And it was pretty much like the cheapest stuff we could find, and then fill it up with water and then cook it overnight. Like he'd started at like 10 at night, and then we would have breakfast in the morning, and he'd slow cook it, so it was on very low heat for the whole night. But as it would cook, the whole house would start smelling so good, and then you'd eat that for like 2 or 3 days. And so then I took that on, and this was usually on stoves like this. I don't know what they're called. But then 2 or 3 years ago when I came back to Vilnius the last time, the apartment I was staying in had a slow cooker, and so that was the dream because then you can control everything and cook it even longer. And so you could do pulled pork and super good curries and then stews, and you could just put whatever in. So sometimes you do chicken stew and you'd stack the deck of vegetables that way, or chili, which is just like tomato and beans and corn and blah 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 blah. And then sometimes I'd make stew mistake, like bad decisions. Sometimes I would try to use cabbage, and I remember cabbage not being the greatest in stews. And then broccoli too. Sometimes broccoli would work, and sometimes broccoli was a big fail for stews. Especially if you didn't eat it all in the first day for some reason, like it didn't age well. Broccoli not aging well, gross. And so chili is pretty good. And the other day, one of my friends, James, I Skyped him, and his secret ingredient was just a ton of salsa. I didn't have so much salsa. I didn't even have much tomato this time, so I'm curious. And then last night I made a really good hummus, which we had with falafel. And on our hike yesterday, we saw, what's it called? A swamp and a little lake and a river. And I got to take some photos, and then we got up to Palakalnis, which is like a hill fort that is dotted all over Lithuania. Like all these tiny towns have hill forts, and so we walked up one of those and had a picnic on top and had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the first time in a long, long time. For some reason, I don't eat much peanut butter here, or jam like that. Jam usually goes on pancakes. Not so much on sandwiches. But now we have a toaster, so we'll be toasting heaps of stuff. And told that story to tell something else, but I don't remember what it is. And today's my first day back at work. Like, I had training for the last week, and then I had 2 days off, and then this week is like, we're still training, but we're just doing normal work. And so now I have to take on heavier cases. Like before, it was pretty much just changing dates, cancelling, and then taking complaints, but then I'd have to pass it on to a specialist, and now I've been upgraded to a specialist, so now I have to take on complaints and payments and all this other stuff. And it's going to be interesting because usually when you upskill, like when I was first trained, I'd be surrounded by specialists that I could just ask questions of, but now I'm working from home, so it's just going to be like very interesting, almost a little bit terrifying at this stage, but that's fine. I'll get over it, I think. And we have a huge backlog because of Corona. And so I could do some overtime this week, I think, if I wanted to, and then just clear some of that backlog, which is attractive to me because that's competitive. Trying to get numbers down, you know. And then, so today I'm just going to drink a lot of rooibos tea, maybe a milk oolong, and then eat some chili. That's what I was telling you about James, because back in Australia he made cornbread for like 80 people, and it was so nice. And I always think of doing cornbread with chili, but then I just can't be bothered, and I don't know how to do it. It's probably just corn and milk, right? Just corn and milk. In fact, I made like pseudo chapatis because we didn't have what's flatbread that you put with falafels? Pita. We didn't have pittas, so I made like dodgy chapatis, but I used corn flour, and so they came out very odd, but it was super tasty. Hummus! Nom, 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 nom. But then I woke up with like a garlic hangover, which my body sometimes does this with food. If I eat too late, I wake up feeling gross, which is weird. But food is just so good. Anyway, see you later, champs!